been fortunate enough to serve on the Women on the Move committee this year, and I thank you all for joining us. On March 11th, 1946, Sylvia Lowry created a gathering of 20 colleagues, men and women, who wanted to get together and talk about MS. They wanted to find a cure, they wanted to find survivors, they wanted to create awareness and education, and they turned their pain related to MS into passion and into power. And that's what we're celebrating here today. All of you who are here, who have turned your passion, your power into this community gathered with us to celebrate, to educate, to acknowledge, and to create sustainable meaning behind MS, and to create passion for this disease. And we thank you all for being here, and we welcome you to the Women on the Move lunch.
And as part of this toast, I propose to the volunteers, the staffs of all of these MS societies all over, and especially Central Virginia and Eastern Virginia, because these people raise millions of dollars over this country for research. And they raise it for research so one day, somehow, somebody will find a cure and free millions of people. So, I ask each of you if you would stand and raise your glass and toast with me. These volunteers, these staffs, people with MS who are fighting to survive.
Introduce our keynote speaker and entertainer, David Osmond. For those of you that don't know, David comes from a musical background, a family of absolutely talented men and women. He's the fourth son of Alan Osmond, the oldest of the performing Osmond brothers. He began performing as a lead singer with his own brothers when he was only 4 years old. So just you're a little older than that. 10 years. Yeah, 10 years ago. This group evolved into the Osmond second generation, which performed to sold-out stadiums and arenas in the US, Europe, and Asia. Despite his successful and promising career, David was forced to put his music on hold and his career on hold due to his own MS diagnosis. He was all too familiar with this disease from watching his father, who also suffers from MS, living with MS. But not one to give up, like so many of you, perseverance and determination, and he's followed his own father's words of wisdom, and I quote, "I may have MS, but MS does not have me." And he's been able to reinvigorate his career and become a symbol of hope to the MS community and to many who meet him. In recognition of his support of the MS movement and work for the Society, he received the Society's Spirit of Life Award. Last night I was fortunate among some of our honorees to have a private time with David, and I'm speechless even just having been with him. But I'll tell you, whether you're in a room with David and you're among 3 people, or you're in a room with David and you're among 300, you will feel like you're the only person in the room listening to him. He is that gracious, he is that talented, he is that hopeful. And if people like David are fighting MS and champion MS, and to Lisa's point, he is that one, and we are that one, boy are we lucky, boy are we blessed. You are in for a real treat. It is absolutely my pleasure and my honor to welcome David Osmond.
Yeah, check this one out. No woman, no cry. Come on, guys. No woman, no cry. Sing it with me if you know these words, yeah. No woman, no cry. 2, 3, hey!
No woman, no cry.
One heart, let's get together and beat MS. What do you say? Here we go. Oh. One love, one heart. fingers as fast, just slow progression of stopping him from moving. He couldn't play his trumpet as fast. He'd drop his microphone. He'd trip on stage, he couldn't do his dance moves. His voice was struggling. And all these things he'd done since he was a little boy started to beat on him. He was taken away from him. And he was diagnosed ultimately with something called MS, multiple sclerosis. And he'd never heard of that. Well, what is that? And we know it, of course, as an autoimmune disorder, a disease where the immune system attacks your own central nervous system, specifically the brain and the spine, and it causes lesions. It causes the sclerosis, it causes scarring. So MS literally means many scars. And it stops you from moving. And it's like a fingerprint for every single person, because those lesions happen in different places, different times and intensities. So everyone with it can be affected differently outwardly. My dad hears you have MS. And the first thing he thought of, well, what is that? Many sons? And he really had no idea. And they gave him some Tylenol and some Advil and said, you know what, come back in 6 months. Maybe we'll have something for you. He remembered his friend, Annette Michelle, from the Mickey Mouse Club. And she also had MS. And he called her up and she gave him some great encouragement, great words of wisdom. And she said, you know what, Alan, it's really not the disease that gets you down. It's not. It's the lack of hope. And having that as a friend and a strength was big for my dad. And he's a tough guy. He's a really tough guy. He had a drill sergeant for a dad. And he tried to raise us accordingly from what he knew, to be tough. He said, David, life is tough, but so are you. So you be tough right back. He spells it differently. He says, whatever it is in your life, if it's a physical challenge like multiple sclerosis, if it's cancer, if it's diabetes, like my little brother who has a pump, if it's financial problems, if it's depression, if it's addiction, there's so many challenges, and life is tough for so many of us, for all of us. So target it. Recognize what it is in your life that's tough. See it. Understand it is the next one. Read up on it. Learn about it. Study it. Pray on it. Get as much information as you can and focus on it. Don't get distracted, because life is full of distractions. But hold true, an eye signal to what your goals are. And last and most important, fight. Keep fighting. You'll be amazed what you can accomplish if you do. Just stay tough. That's one of the many reasons why my dad is such a great hero of mine. Because he doesn't just speak it, he lives it. And no matter what it is in our lives, there'll be so many things that affect us. This is one of the biggest things I think I've learned this last 8 years. It happens to everybody. Everybody. At different degrees, at different intensities, at different moments when you least expect it. Pain comes to all of us. But I promise you, despite the fact that pain is inevitable, suffering is truly optional. I believe that because I see it. I see it in my dad and so many others every single day, if I look for it, who are overcoming. And I appreciate the correction in the introduction as well, where you said he's suffering with MS. And then you change it to he's living with MS. Thank you. Because he's not. He's the first one to say, David, I may have MS, but MS does not have me. And even though he has an electric cart to go long distances, and a cane and a leg brace to go short, you could talk to him on the phone today and you'd have no idea. He'd sound like the happiest guy on the planet. And having a dad like this was invaluable for me as a poster boy, as an example, as a son. Because I ended up like this. I started tripping, falling, after pain set in, literal pain. It was on Christmas Eve 2005, and I took my shoes off, and pain just crushed my feet. I turned to my then girlfriend, now wife, who I was dating, and I told her, I said, my feet feel like they're being crushed by a steamroller, and this is really bad, and it wouldn't stop. And fast forward a few weeks and months, that pain just moved all over my body and hit my chest. It's in my hands, and then my eyesight starts to diminish, and it's like static television. And my hands slow down. I can't move faster than this when I want to. My guitar is gone. My voice is pretty much struggling to be there. And I'm dating this girl. And I met her in the last place on earth I ever thought I would meet my soulmate, the love of my life, my best friend. Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was trying to sing, but music was gone. I had to be in a wheelchair. I couldn't even move my toes. I started tripping and falling and quickly went into this state of paralysis. And we didn't have a diagnosis yet. Crazy. We were trying everything. We thought it was actually a mechanical problem, like pinched nerves in the spine, something with the bones or something. And then I was shortly diagnosed after quite a while, a better part of a year of having to deal with this. That they said, this looks like it's MS. And I was in denial at first, because this is not MS, you're wrong. Because my dad has MS. I know what this is like. And I was so wrong. I've learned more about this crazy disease in the last 6 to 8 years than I have my whole life. And learned that it's unique for everybody. A lot of the symptoms can be very similar. But here I'm diagnosed with it. And we're getting married. If you don't believe in miracles, I pray that you believe in one today, guys, because I have MS still. And I feel it. I still have crushing pain. It's not as bad as it was. And it's gone down to about my legs and down. But since 6.5 years ago, this has really touched my life. A smart guy said once, you can live your life 2 ways. One is if nothing is a miracle. Or you can live as if everything is a miracle. And 6.5 years ago, I've been on my feet since our wedding day. And I've been walking ever since. And God willing, I'll continue. It's like kind of waiting for that earthquake in a way. I don't know what tomorrow's going to hold for me. But I can somewhat move. I can run around the room and drive a car again. I can do a lot. And there's a lot that I know I can't do. But I'm trying my best to not focus on my disabilities. Focus on my abilities, whatever that is, whatever I've got. And those little things mean so much more to me now. And that's why I think having MS, though it sounds stupid, is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It was for me. It gave me the opportunity to look outside myself and shift my perspective on what was important and what I have. How blessed I truly am. And this day was magnificent for us. I'll never forget it. And now that I'm doing music again, I've got a lot to write. We all know why we're here. And I think there may be things on your tables. There may be donation boxes. It may be an awkward ask, but I ask you to reach into your hearts, reach into your wallets a little deeper, and to consider making a donation today to the MS Society, who's doing so much research, so much assistance, so much financial assistance even for people who need it. You can decide where your money goes. That's what's so cool. You can say, look, I want this all to go to research. Great. Or I want this to go to programs that help people who just need a ramp to get into their house, because they can. Or other just support groups. It is a huge, huge thing, and every dollar counts. So I ask you to please consider that, and thank you again for being here. Because I know I'm a benefactor of that love and that support that you guys show me. So God bless you, and thank you again for being here. Be with me and be inspired by me. So this song is for those that maybe going through a very hard time in your life. We're all in the same lifeboat together. Come. Oh, someday I knew I'd make it. Whatever that is, please tell me. Absurd as it seems, it's crazy. But all the cry falling apart, I realize that it's changing my life. It's up to nobody but me. The day's gonna be the day I finally found a way who I'm gonna be. Oh, nothing's gonna get me down, and I gotta find my place somehow. So now I gotta live like it's the last day of my life. Live for the things that make it right. Live for the ones that make me free. Open up your heart and you will see. Live to be proud, I made the day. Somebody else to make a way. I gotta live, you gotta live like it's the last day of your life. I'm holding on, and I'm holding strong, 'cause before you know it's coming on, it's coming on. I live like it's the last day of my life. Live for the things that make you right. Live for the ones that make me free. Open up your heart and you will see. Live to be proud, I made the day. Somebody else to make a way. You gotta live like it's the last day. It's the last day. I made